In this video, we're going to focus on creating these labels here. We'll rotate them and put them nicely here close to the center. And if I refresh, you can see here these text will rotate itself to make it easier to read. Let's start to explore how to do this. So to do this, the first thing what we need to do is have the boiler template ready. So to get the boiler template, just go to chartjs3.com, getting started, this specific link, and once you're on here, copy this chunk of code and you're good to go. Next, if you want to get the source code of this video and many others, check out my Patreon page. And of course, got a question, put it on Discord. Alright, all these links are in the description box. Let's start to create here first the PolarArea chart. There we are. So let's remove the scales. We don't need the scales in this case. And then we want to have these labels in here. So to do that, I need to create a custom plugin. So I'm going to say here, comma, plugins. And we can just say here, segment text cloud or rotated text cloud, anything you want. Copy this. Then I'm going to say here, constant this equals ID of that. And then comma, we're going to say here after the data sets, because we want to make sure it will be drawn after the data sets or the pie segments, or in this case the chart area segments are drawn already. So we want them on top. So we're going to say here datasets draw chart arcs plugin options. Then what I do here next is do object destructuring. And if you don't know object destructuring, please check out my video understanding chartjs object destructuring. It's in the link in the description box. And then here probably I can get these two. Alright, so once I have this, what I need to do is I need to get this center point. What we're really going to do here is we want to put the label here at this specific point, or more specifically somewhere here. However, if we are on the other side or on this side here, these labels with rotation will be upside down. So what we need to do is recalculate them and then turn them again around, basically of one pi or a half circle, so they will be easier to read. And to do that, I need to calculate the angles here. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to calculate the angle from this point to here to this point here, and the same will be basically from, hold on, let me just hide these tooltips, they are driving me crazy. Plugins, tooltip, enabled, set on false. There we are. So what I want to do is just calculate what we call the Pythagoras theorem, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to calculate the triangle in here. So let's start to do that one right now. First of all, to understand that, I need to have here this center point. To get this, I will use just a very simple tool which is built into the chartjs functionality. It's basically this sorry, chart.getDataSet meta index 0, and then we can just say here the data and then index 0, and then we can get here the x and y. So if I save this, refresh, open up this arc element, it grabs the arc element and it calculates the x and y coordinate, which is identical for each, because this is the center where it starts drawing from. If I refresh, you can see here it basically comes out of this and then it starts to rotate. So all of that information is very important. We're going to use that now. Let's cut out this. Let's delete this. I will go very fast in this one. So then we have that dot x, because I want to get the x value. Then what I want to do is I'm going to get the same one for the y. Get the y coordinates. And now what I need to do is I need to know from every arc element or segment, I need to know basically the center angle, which is basically the starting angle. And then, or even, yes, that's the starting angle minus the end angle. So we have the center of that. And then divide, or we plus those, and then divide by 2 to get the exact center. That's the most important one. So to do that, I'm going to just loop through these items. So I'm going to say this, then instead of data, I say here dot for each loop, and then we say here for every data point, we're going to get the index, then we're going to do function arrow expression. Then what I'm going to do here is we'll be needing the starting angle. So I say constant start angle equals everything of this, and then dot start angle. Of course, I don't want the data of index 0, I want to have them from the index. So we loop through each item. Same logic will be for the end angle, because we need to calculate the ending point. Then what I want to do is I want to have what we call the center angle. And the center angle here, constant center angle, will be the starting angle plus end angle. And then what I want to do is I want to divide this by 2. With that, I'm getting now the exact center position here. So this will be very useful for us, because now we can start to calculate. But what I need to do here, and this is the most tricky part here, is I need to calculate if I want to be somewhere here, where we can later on specify the amount of pixels. I guess we can do a radius already. So let's say constant radius, and the constant of a radius would be maybe the inner radius. Is that the inner radius here? Let me double check. Let's see if we have an inner radius. Let's start with that first, because I need to know the position of that. So we say here chart.get data set meta index 0 dot data index 0, and let's see if we get any kind of value here. Inner radius, there we are. This is the inner radius. So I will just put in the inner radius, but basically it's 0 because this is the center point. But let's say if I have the inner radius, I want to go maybe 20 pixels upwards or anywhere else. So I need to calculate, for example, if I want to be here or somewhere here, let's say 50 pixels. What is the x and what is the y coordinate for this? So I need to calculate that one. So we can just do here dot inner radius. I'll just say inner radius, but then I do plus 50 pixels. So it will be 50 pixels in here. So I say constant, and then we can say here radius, although this will be a static value because it will be for every one of them, it will be the exact same position. So we can leave it like that. So once we have all of this information, I can get now the x and y coordinates. Coordinate, and then we say here, I need to get the x, well, in this case, I need to get the x center for the x coordinate. Then what I want to do is plus the radius that we have specified, which is in this case just 50 pixels, because this is 0. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to say here math.cosinus, and then we're going to grab here the center angle. Basically, I'm calculating if our radius is 50 pixels, what would be the x coordinate. So if I do that and I do calculation here, x coordinate, put that in there, we are getting something, and based on its rotation and based on all the calculation, it will give us the exact coordinates. This still means nothing because you have no visual. However, we're going to use that later on once we got a visual. So what I'm going to do here now is for the y coordinate, and for the y coordinate we are not going to use cosinus, we're going to use sinus in this case. And of course it's not the x center, but it's the y center, which we have specified here. Alright, so once we did this, what I need to do now is start to work on drawing the entire item. So I'm going to say here ctx.save, save all variables above, then I'm going to say here ctx dot, and then we can probably start drawing our item. But what I need to do is to draw that, I need to have a visual. Let's start to work on visual first. So what I'm going to do here, font, I'm going to put in here text, and later on I'm going to reposition that. So we say here text font will be bold 12 pixels, sans serif as font family. Then what I will do here is just say ctx dot fill, fill text. Then what I will do here is I want to grab the text. In this case, I'll just grab the data labels, which we already have specified here. So we're going to say here, this is basically, just to have a quick breakdown, text, x and y. Yes. So we have already the X and Y coordinates here, but later on we will have to change that as well. But don't worry about it, but just start working on a sample. Well, let's do this one first. Then we say the data, dot data, not even dot data set, but I just want the labels, index. And why labels? If I go up here to the data, I get the labels here and then whatever the index would be. Then here, right now, I can probably grab this, put it in here, but later on we need to rotate these. So as you can see here, it is starting to work, but it's not in the right angle of rotation. That means that we need to work on that as well. For that, we're going to use rotation. So what we could say here maybe is the font should be eventually white. So say fill style white, and then later on we probably have to position it even a bit more. All right, for now I'll just hide that so we have a stronger visual. So what I need to do next is start to create the shape as well, and for that I'm going to start working with the rotations immediately. So what I'm going to do here is ctx.translate, and this translate here will basically get the X and Y coordinate, but we're going to say that these X and Y coordinates will be now the 0 point. So this here, you will see that this will not work now if I do this. Oh, and of course the translate I need to do, because of translate, I need to do here a ctx.restore, or else it will just give us a very weird response. Save that, refresh. There we are. As you can see here, it is somewhere here. And the reason why is, this is now the 0 point. First we specified this value, whatever that value is, but now I'm going to say this is the 0 point and this is the 0 point. So now it is in there, alright. So what I need here, I guess, is the proper location. And the proper location, as I'm just doing a glance, is the rotation. Because right now it is still 0, 0, but we have not calculated our rotation of the angle here, the center angle. Once we did that, then this here should be all nicely spread out on the right arc or segment. So what I'm going to do here, ctx.rotate, and what is our rotation? Our rotation will be based on the center angle. Let's see if that gives us a better response. There we are. It does to a certain extent, but we should move this a little bit more up because we're too much in the center here. So, well, let's start to make the shape now because we are getting very close to it. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to make the cloud. So I'm going to say here, ctx.begin path. I'm going to create a new shape independent of anything else. And then I'm going to say here, ctx.fill style. And the fill style will be based on the color of our background or border color. I guess that should be more practical. So I'm going to say here, this will be data.data sets index 0 dot border color index. That is it. And then we're going to say here the shape. So the shape will be a round rectangle, round rec, and we're going to X, the Y, the width, the height, and the rotation or border radius. So in this case, I'll just make this 10 pixels. For the height, our text, our font size is, if I do the font here, it's 12 pixels. So then we can say here 12. For the width, we need to recalculate that, and I'll cover it later on. But let's say now for the width, 50 pixels. And then the X and Y here, well, we can just say this will be 0. And this one will be 0 as well. Save that, refresh. Alright. Of course, right now, what happened is the fill is being sent over here as well for the color. So I need to make sure that the color will be forced white. But here, the shape has not been drawn yet. We only said we want a shape, but we didn't specify where exactly. So I'm going to say ctx.fill to draw the filler shape. Save that, refresh, there we are. So now we're getting somewhere, but we're still slightly off. So let me just hide these for now. There we are, and let's start to reposition them nicely. So to reposition this, we just play around a little bit. I think we need to do here maybe a movement. All right, not yet. Then we're going to say here, maybe here -10. Let's see if we get here the value. All right, so it does start to get, but they're all stick here. So I need to have, if I'm not mistaken, the radius need to be recalculated or needs to be set in here. Radius. All right, that is this. Let's see. All right, so I noticed I made a tiny mistake. The tiny mistake is I'm putting it in the X and Y center, which is forbidden. And the reason why this is the exact center here in the middle, that's the center point. But what I want to do is I want to grab the X and Y coordinates. That will be my new center that is specifically for the position here. There we are. That's it. So that was just confusing me. My apologies. But anyway, so now we have this here, and you can see here I can reduce this by having the radius shorter, so we have closer to the segment beginning. However, you can choose whatever value you want. That looks much better. All right, so now we have this here, and I guess this should then work as well as it should. There we are. Now what I need to do is I need to make sure we have the width calculated. To calculate the width, I need to make sure that we predefine the font text. So we're going to do it here. And then we're going to say here, we're going to measure that. So it's a constant text width equals ctx.measure text. Then we're going to grab here the text. What is the text? That's this one here. Let's grab that. And say here dot width. Once we did this, then we can grab that width and define it in here. Save, refresh. All right, as you can see here, this is very tight because it's exactly the fit of that. But what we could do here to make it a bit better, say plus 12. There we are. And then maybe you might wonder why did I do a -6 here. I guess if I do this and put this back, save, refresh, you can see we're slightly off. And the reason I do the -6 then is to make sure that we reposition it better here. So if I do the -6, you can see here, all right, that gets on one part, but then I need to do here a -10. And the reason for -10, because I have a height of 20 of that shape, the cloud. So just being 10 pixels down would be more in the center. Save, refresh. All right, so this works. Let's put in long text. Save, refresh. All right, that works as well. But as you can see here, this is upside down. We need to rotate these now. So we need to double rotate it. Rotate it once more if it is in such a case of the other side. Basically, when do we rotate it? Once this here, basically once we are surpassing the width center, the center point base, and that is the X center. Once we surpass the X center in coordinates, we would like to rotate these. So what I can do now is first of all check, are we surpassing that, yes or no? So what I'm going to do here, after the translate, before the rotation, because this needs to be done before the rotation, I'm going to create an if statement. And I'm going to say if the X coordinate is bigger than the X center, which means it is surpassing this half of the polar area chart. In that case, what I want to do is I want to keep it like whatever we have here. I'm going to cut this out, put it in there, and there we are. So else I can just take this out because the restore can always be done afterwards. And then else, what I would like to do is do here a different rotation. Let's copy this, put it in here. All right, so the rotation in this case, and let me just give this a proper indentation, will be slightly different or very limited of difference. We're going to say here for the center angle, we're going to add 1 mat.pi. Why? 1 pi is a half circle, 2 pi is a full circle. So if I want to change this, just rotate this 180 degrees, I just need 1 pi. So let's save this, refresh. All right, as you can see, it works. But once we did that, you can see here, this is rotating and this is rotating. It's moving, as you can see, it's recalculated itself. But now we have a bit of a weird position here. So we need to change this. The issue of that one is basically this. I need to make sure that here we have text align equals left. That's the default one. That's the left. However, down here, our text align will not be left, but it will be right. Save that, refresh. There we are, this works, but as you can see here, the item needs to be repositioned as well. So to do that, what I need to do here is just the opposite of what we're doing above. So when we say here, the plus or the text width, I need to do negative because this is 0. So everything here, because this is the center point was, or sorry, not the center point, but the translate, whatever this point is that it's drawing on, that point is the 0 point. So if I go more to the left, it's a negative point in that case. So let's do negative minus text width. There we are, we're getting it, but these are still not done because here now we just need to do plus and plus, the exact opposite or mirror reflection of above. Save, refresh. Oh, as you can see here, I am still missing something. Negative text width, or maybe I just need to do a negative here. Did I do something wrong? Let me cross check that. Alright. Well, apparently we have this almost, we just have to go more to with the or we have to adjust the X position, and that is apparently this one. I need to do only this plus, while this one we can keep negative. There we are, and as you can see here now, these are rotated. If you don't like this here, maybe that if it's halfway here, it would be acceptable. What we could do is to avoid that is we say coordinate plus 10, I guess, or negative 10. So it will still be quite, so we will not touch this one because this one has no real value to change because it's just very close to the center, and that's probably the reason why. Or if you can do even here negative 5, that will be fine as well. So basically we're measuring it from a little bit off the center, which is fine. And there we are. So if we have more values here, that should all work nicely. There we are, and that's it.